The village celebrated. Their plight was over. Crops were good, and the plague was gone. Everything was as it should be. Everyone reveled in the good times, even Captain Locke. It was a good time, but the captain had other thoughts on his mind. In the morning he'd be leaving, making his way to someplace bigger. From there he could get a ship and head home. Back to sea. It called to him, even now. He wandered down the shoreline. The gentle sounds of waves soothed the sailor. He could have drifted off to sleep right there, if only he was laying in a boat to be rocked by the waves. He was half tempted to go lay down in one of the fishermen's rigs for the night. A scream pierced his thoughts. Captain Locke spun about as he located the source. It was coming from the water, from a river. He sprinted along the beach. A shadow was standing in the water of a small river. He couldn't see clearly. Conjuring flames in his hand, he took in the sight. Was it human or something else? A shark? Regardless, it held a young woman in its arms. Welcome back to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Sharks are fearsome predators feared the world over. There are multiple sharkmen and deities among the Polynesian islands, and even up to Japan. It is Hawaii that has developed an interesting take on such a creature. Let's take a look at the strange biology of Nanaue. Hawaii has many legends of its own, amongst them the tale of the Sharkman being one of horror and fear. The story tells of the Shark King who was swimming near the shore when he saw a beautiful maiden swimming in the ocean. He used his magic to take human form and spoke with her before staying in the village for a time. During this time, the young woman fell in love with the Shark King, married, and she became pregnant. Unfortunately, their time together came to an end, and the Shark King was forced to return to the ocean. But before he left a message for his wife, never to let their son eat meat. When the woman gave birth to her son, Nanaue, she was horrified to see that there was a gaping mouth in his back. In shame, she hid her son's back, but raised him while following her husband's advice. For years, she prevented her son from eating meat. Yet, despite her best attempts, one night, Nanaue tried meat, and that sent him down a dark path. He began to hunger for it. At first it was fish, pig, and birds. Eventually, it took a more sinister turn. While playing in the ocean with some other children his age, he killed and ate a child. This he completed in secret, and Nanaue eventually killed again and again. Soon people became scared of the mysterious deaths, and noticed that Nanaue was never hurt. His secret in back was exposed. The village turned on the boy, who fled to another island, where he began the same cycle of killing once more. This repeated as he was chased across the Hawaiian islands, until he was finally killed in some stories. In a few, however, he escaped out to sea where he could terrorize people unperturbed. Nanaue is a soul cursed by conditions of his birth. It's unclear whether his hunger for flesh can be tamed, or an all-consuming force that he is losing against. Regardless, he is a dangerous creature. Now, there is variations of Nanaue's appearance. At first, he looked like a boy with a shark's mouth in his back, but in some tales, he looks more and more shark-like as he eats people, or even fully shapeshifts into a shark. Let's start by looking at the mouth. If it is a mouth, that means adding jawbones, both the upper and lower ones. But sharks have cartilaginous skeletons, including the skull. Would Nanaue? No. I'm going to side with him having the solid bones of a human to aid with walking on land. So we need the mandibles and maxilla bones to hold the teeth. But what about the zygomatic or temporal bones that have the muscle attachments? Well, no. The ribs would work as fine attachments for those muscles. They would end up with a slightly different shape, but a simple process. It would require a little reworking of some back muscles, like the latissimus dorsi and trapezius, to create room. The smaller ones like the teres minor will need mild work as well. What about the spinal cord or the recti spina muscles? Well, no. Not if the second mouth is located posteriorly to the spine, behind the back, between the back skin and the spine. The only issue comes with the second esophagus. Your esophagus sits a little bit before the spine. That means linking a second esophagus to the primary would be a simple feat. We'll need to spread the ribs out a little bit to make room for food and drink to pass down, but not that big of one. Overall, this would be an easy reworking of the human anatomy. It could be advantageous. If he eats through the back, he'll have no risk of choking, but wouldn't stop him from being strangled. The only problem would be getting food to his back mouth. I mean, it would be like trying to scratch that middle of your back, the one spot that has an itch that you can never reach. That could be the tough part. The shape-shifting ability most likely ties to his father, the king of sharks, and brings up an issue. How does a shark and a human have a child? I did a video on hybrid species before, and I'll bring up a few issues from there. First off, sharks and humans are radically different genetically. Sharks have 41 chromosomes pairs compared to the 23 that humans do. Now, the most likely option is the shark genes are inhibited while on land, and it is the eating of meat which causes the shark genes to activate. Why? Seriously, why would eating meat trigger the change? Did the ancient Hawaiians cook with some strange spice in their meat? And I am hitting a block here. I haven't found a spice used in Hawaiian cooking which could be tied to this. Something used in meat alone, but never mixed with vegetables or eaten alone. If one of you are an expert in traditional Hawaiian cuisine, I'd love to hear. But right now, it is looking like the cause of the change was the meat, not something it was cooked with. So what would be the common kinds of meat eaten in Hawaii? Pig? That was usually used for ceremonial sacrifices, some eaten by priests, and important events publicly. Then there are some breeds of dogs and chickens that were brought there by the first people to come to Hawaii. Prior to that, there were lizards and bats. Those four, I don't believe, hold much value here. Now, pig tissue is similar to human flesh, and is often used as a comparison, so that is one possible option of a starting for the desire of human flesh. But there may be a more likely answer. Tell me, what is Hawaii? Yeah, sounds like a stupid question, but important. It's an island. Something surrounded by ocean. And that is filled with fish, eels, and sharks. All things that would be a large part of the Hawaiian diet. So the one I think here that's important is the shark meat. This could trigger the activation of the shark genes, either from enzymes in the meat or from a shark virus passing to Nanaue. In theory, fish could achieve the same thing. They are closely related genetically. Now, if Nanaue had the shark mouth on his back, could he have some of the shark's other abilities? Most importantly, the lateral line system. It uses neuromast cells, a type of mechanical receptor. These detect changes in water pressure, but are modified in sharks and called the ampulla lorenzi. These ones detect electromagnetic fields, be it Earth's magnetic field or the electrical impulses of another animal. This would let Nanaue know when people are approaching him or hiding. That could partially explain how he's able to keep escaping from one island to another. Sharks also have an incredible sense of smell. If there is one drop of blood in a pool of 10 billion drops of seawater, then the shark can smell it. Would it work on land as well? Not quite. Contact between a scent in water and the air are different. The air is less dense and reduces the sense of smell. Besides, there's an issue of size with the nasal and olfactory cavities to bring in. Lastly, we have teeth. Sharks have multiple rows of teeth and can place lost ones easily. This won't work in the human mouth. There isn't enough room for the extra teeth to grow in. Human teeth grow in the bones, while the shark's teeth are behind the first row, but it could be possible in the back of the mouth. Nanaue can be a dangerous foe. He is smart, a human level of intelligence. He can take his time in singling out his prey, learning their patterns, when they will be alone, and who is after him. That makes him dangerous. The fight begins before you face off. You'll need to find him in the crowd. Watch for someone who is hiding his back. That will be the ultimate clue as to who is Nanaue. So after some detective work, you'll figure out Nanaue's identity. What happens next? That depends on where the fight occurs. If you fight him while in human form, it'll be a fair fight. As a human, you can rely on any weapon you choose. Sword, spear, bows, all are good. Magic works well too. Fire and lightning are both beneficial. Shark skin is tough, but nothing too far past that of human flesh. Yet, what happens if he takes a shark-like form? You'll be stronger and have a powerful bite. To counter that, you'll want gambeson, chainmail, or plate armor. That should work. Anything will help. He might get a bone broken if he has enough power. There's a wide range of jaw power in sharks. Some tiger sharks can bite with a force of up to 100 pounds per square inch. A shield can deter most attacks and keep it from biting a limb. If bitten, you'll be in a grappling situation. He can easily throw you about or counterattack while you are limited in defense. Best option is to keep your distance. Now, there is an option I want to talk about. Sharks have been fooled by electrical signals. So could Nanaue? You could create distractions, get them thinking there are more foes than there are, or hide your own electrical signals. This will require talented magic or an artificer. I'll leave it up to you. The last issue is if the fight occurs in water. He'll be much more mobile and able to either run or gain an advantage in this terrain. Ideally, you'll want to fight him on land. That will be the place where you are the most even position you'll be able to get. Nanaue is an interesting foe. While strong, he's also smart. You'll need to be observant to find him and lure him into a trap to best him in battle. He has impressive strength and the ability to use weapons as well. As long as you fight accordingly and smart, you can win. I'm going to give Nanaue a 4 out of 10 for difficulty. He has comparable intelligence to you, has electrical senses to detect stealth foes, and impressive strength. Ideally, I would work on setting a trap, pushing the fight onto your terms. Good luck. If you battle and defeat Nanaue, what are your rewards? Well, I am betting that whatever village he has been in will have a reward. Good hard cash, always useful. Though thanks to the locals, you might even be able to pull a feast for your heroic deeds. Whatever the remains. Well, sharkskin has been used in many projects from clothing to wrappings of sorts, but should you? Regardless of what Nanaue is now, he was once a person. And are you alright with using human skin for something? What about human flesh? Questionable. I'll leave the morals up to your own verdict, but could he be recruited to your party? Would you trust him? He could help detect assassins going against you. You can feed him bandits that cross your path. That is your choice. That is assuming that his hunger can be satiated. Nanaue growled at the sailor. He held on to his captive tightly, a shield against the man's flames. Captain Lork took a step. His mind churned out one thought after another. Closing his hand, he let his fire vanish. What he did was position himself between the sharkman and the seawater. It moved, rushed the smaller man. The sharkman swung the girl at his foe, who jumped sideways. Captain Lork saw the gaping mouth in the monster's back. Lightning crackled in his hand as he fired ahead of the nightmare. A miss. Or not. It stepped backwards, and Captain Lork acted. Flames filled his hands once more. And with the sharkman's back exposed, he attacked. Fire filled the monster's second mouth. It roared and cursed in pain. The girl fell into sand as the sharkman thrashed about. There was an opening. Pulling all his skills, Captain Lork struck with lightning. Fast and true. Nanaue cried out and fell to the ground. "Mother," he sobbed. "Mother, help me. Mother." Captain Lork didn't care for the cries of the poor, cursed soul. No, he stepped forward. He called forth one final spell. Flesh crackled as it burned. He looked down at his defeated foe. Nanaue is a sad fate, a soul damned by situations of his birth. If ever met in battle, you can handle him with cunning and careful thought. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next week, where we meet Juboko, a blood-sucking tree. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.